You unlock your phone 200 times a day. You don't decide to. Your thumb just moves, the screen lights up, and somewhere a quiet record is made of where you were and what you wanted. You probably think this is convenience. You probably think it's harmless. But the real answer is far stranger, and George Orwell saw the shape of it more than 70 years ago, even if he got almost every detail wrong. In 1949, a dying man on a Scottish island finished a book about the future. His name was Eric Blair, though you know him as George Orwell. He imagined a world of telescreens that watched you back, of a ministry of truth that edited history, of a boot stamping on a human face forever. He called that world 1984, and for decades, people read it as a warning that did not come true. The year 84 arrived. There was no Big Brother. The Soviet Union fell. People relaxed. They decided Orwell had been wrong. But what if he wasn't wrong? What if he was just early and pointed at the wrong door? Here is the thing almost everyone misses about that book. The horror of Orwell's world is not that people are watched. The horror is that people stop being able to tell what is true. The party's deepest weapon is not the telescreen. It is the slow murder of the difference between a fact and a feeling. Think about that for a second. In the novel, the slogan is that war is peace, freedom is slavery, ignorance is strength. Those lines sound like nonsense, but they are not nonsense, they are a test. The party does not need you to believe them, it needs you to repeat them. It needs you to accept that 2 plus 2 can equal 5 if the moment requires it. So ask yourself a simple question. When was the last time you were completely sure something was true, and then a week later you were not sure at all? This is where the story gets uncomfortable, because the machinery Orwell imagined was crude. It required force. It required a man in a room with a clipboard and eventually a cage of rats. The system we actually built needed none of that. It needed only your attention, and it asked for that attention so politely that you handed it over with a smile. A scholar named Shoshana Zuboff spent years studying this. She gave it a name. She called it surveillance capitalism. Her argument is patient and chilling at once. The companies that run your daily life do not sell you products. They sell predictions about you, and to make those predictions accurate, they need to watch. Not with a telescreen bolted to your wall. With the device you bought yourself, charge every night and reach for before you are fully awake. Orwell thought surveillance would feel like a fist. It actually feels like a feed. And notice what that changes. In the book, Winston knows he is being watched, and he hates it. He whispers. He hides in a corner the camera cannot see. He understands he is a prisoner, but you do not feel like a prisoner. You feel entertained. You feel connected. You feel, most of the time, like the one in control, the one doing the scrolling, the one making the choices. So who is really watching whom? There was another writer in another country who saw a different door. His name was Aldous Huxley, and decades before Orwell, he wrote a book called Brave New World. His future was not a prison, it was a party. People were not controlled by pain. They were controlled by pleasure. They were given endless comfort, endless distraction, endless small delights, until they simply forgot they had ever wanted anything more. A media critic named Neil Postman put the two visions side by side, and what he wrote should stop you cold. Orwell feared the people who would ban books. Huxley feared there would be no reason to ban a book, because no one would want to read one. Orwell feared we would be controlled by inflicting pain. Huxley feared we would be controlled by inflicting pleasure. Orwell feared the truth would be hidden from us. Huxley feared the truth would be drowned in a sea of irrelevance. Read that again slowly. One man feared what we hate, the other feared what we love. And the trap you are actually standing in was built from both. That is the part nobody tells you. We did not get one dystopia. We got a hybrid. We got Huxley's pleasure wrapped around Orwell's surveillance. The screen that watches you is also the screen that delights you, and that combination is more powerful than anything either author imagined alone. But let's go deeper, because the most frightening idea in Orwell's book is not surveillance at all. It is memory. It is what happens to a society when it can no longer trust its own past. In the novel, Winston works at the Ministry of Truth. His job is to rewrite old newspapers so that the official record always matches today's story. If the party said yesterday that chocolate rations would rise and today they fell, Winston finds the old article and changes it. The lie becomes the only surviving record. The truth is dropped into a slot called the memory hole, and it is gone. Now think about how memory works in your own life. There is a researcher named Elizabeth Loftus who has spent her career proving something deeply unsettling. Human memory is not a recording, it is a reconstruction. Every time you remember something, you rebuild it, and in rebuilding it, you can change it. Loftus showed that with the right suggestion, people will confidently remember entire events that never happened to them. A childhood trip, a frightening accident, a crime. Your memory was already editable before any of this. The memory hole was inside you the whole time. So what happens when the record outside you becomes editable too? When a photograph can be generated in seconds? when a voice can be cloned from a few words, when the video of a person saying something can be made by a machine perfectly, and no one can prove it false. Orwell imagined a ministry with armies of clerks. We built something that does the same work with a single line of text and no clerks at all. Do you see it now? The danger was never that you would be forced to believe a lie. The danger is that you would slowly lose the ability to know what a lie even is. There is a word for the goal of all this, and Orwell coined it: doublethink, the capacity to hold two contradictory beliefs at once and accept both. To know a thing is false and true in the same breath. We tend to think of that as a disease of the brainwashed. But watch yourself for one ordinary day. Watch how easily you scroll past something outrageous and forget it within minutes. Watch how you can be furious about a story in the morning and unable to recall it by night. That is not stupidity, that is exhaustion. And exhaustion, it turns out, does the work that the boot was supposed to do. This connects to an older idea, much older than Orwell. In the 1700s, a philosopher named Jeremy Bentham designed a prison. He called it the Panopticon. It was a ring of cells around a central tower. A guard in the tower could see into any cell, but the prisoners could never see the guard. The genius of it was simple and terrible. The prisoners did not know when they were being watched, so they behaved as if they always were. The watching became automatic. It moved inside them. A French thinker named Michel Foucault took that prison and turned it into a theory of modern life. His point was that real power does not need to watch you constantly. It only needs you to believe you might be watched. Then you watch yourself. You censor yourself. You shrink yourself quietly into the shape that feels safe. Now ask the question that should haunt you. Before you post something, before you send a message, before you type a search you would be embarrassed for anyone to see, do you hesitate? Do you feel the eye of a tower you cannot see? If you do, then the prison is already built, and you are both the prisoner and the guard. But here is where the story turns, because Orwell did not only give us the cage. He gave us the thing inside the cage that the party could never fully kill. He gave us Winston scratching words into a forbidden diary, knowing he would be caught, writing anyway. He gave us the idea that the simplest act of rebellion is to insist that a fact is a fact, that 2 plus 2 makes 4, that what you saw with your own eyes happened. That is not a small thing. In a world built to blur the line between true and false, the most radical act left to you is to care whether something is true. So what do you actually do with all this? You do not need to throw away your phone. You do not need to flee to a cabin. The book does not ask that. It asks something quieter and harder. It asks you to stay awake, to notice when you are being delighted into not thinking, to remember that the feed which knows you so well does not love you, it predicts you, to keep somewhere inside you a small room the tower cannot see where you decide for yourself what is real. Orwell ended his life convinced that the future was not fixed. The whole reason he wrote the book was that he believed a warning could change the thing it warned about. He was not a prophet of doom. He was a man trying to keep one door from closing, and the strange, hopeful truth is this: a prophecy you can see is a prophecy you can resist. The watching only wins when you forget it is there. So tonight you will unlock your phone again. Your thumb will move on its own. The screen will light up and somewhere a quiet record will be made. But this time, just for a moment, you will know. And knowing, it turns out, is the one thing Big Brother was never able to take.